Okay, I'm going to review execution links. In previous videos, I've talked about a high-level review of what the menu system is or how it's designed. I've talked about menu drivers. I've talked about branch links and text links and how to build menus, but I've not really done a deep dive into execution links. So we'll make probably more than one video about execution links, but we'll just talk in this video about an execution links, the variables that are defined in it, and the application code, and we'll tie that together, and hopefully at the end of the video how to use execution links makes sense. So we have a menu. In this menu, we're going to be focusing on an option, the SRQ option, to access service requests in my CMS system. If we look at that menu definition here, we'll take option 12 in CMS main. We'll look at the heading, service request, and we'll look at that menu item, SRQ. And here you can see we have a branch link, CMS-CMWR-SSR, and the execution name is of the same name. If we look at the branch link, again, you'll see the branch link of the same name, CMS-CMWR-SSR, and the execution is of the same name. And here's the execution link, CMWR-SSR, and here's the program to call. Now, before I had my CMS system, I would make commands or just call the program from the command line because I either knew the params or I did it in a way where I didn't need to pass any params, and the code would just figure out what it needed to do. But in my past, I had a command called projects, and projects is a collection of, like here you'll see a project, and projects are collections of service requests. So if I take option 12 on a particular project, I'll see the collection of service requests. We're going to focus on menu sys 0205A. That is the current version of my CMS system. So if I take option 12 there, you'll see the open projects that I have are just things that I've carried over from previous projects onto the current project. Okay. And then the other method that I created a command called service request, and then I can enter in the project name, and again it's menu sys and 0205A, and then all requests, and then users. All right, so if I press enter, I see that same perspective. And if I knew the command, the call, which I do, menu sys 0205A star all, press enter, and I get that perspective. So those are three ways of accessing the program. All three things are doing the same thing. They're basically calling a program and passing some values. So menu system has to replicate that. So from this menu option, from this menu definition, from this branch link to this execution link, how does it get menu sys 0205A star all? All right. So if we take SRQ, right, how did it know to pass those values in as we just understood it and understand it now? Well, let's take a look at where that's being done at. If we look at the branch link, there's something called the static variable link, and we basically have a definition in here called CMS project menu sys. Now, what a static variable is basically what it sounds like. it defines variables to have a static value, a value that will not change. So no matter when or what you're referring to, that variable will be equal to whatever is defined underneath the static variable. So if we look at static variables and we look at those definitions, we have CMS project menu sys. And here you'll see the project code will be defined as menu sys, and the project level will be defined as 0205A. So when menu system is calling this program, and remember, it's navigating from the menu option taken to the branch link to the execution link, and then calling the program. But when the branch link is defined for that option, it basically sees that it has a responsibility as the branch link. It's the menu driver's not doing it. The execution link isn't necessarily doing it. It's the responsibility of all the modules within the branch link to basically say, I have to, because I am being invoked and I'm aware that I'm being invoked or referred to, I have to change a group of variables to a static value. And that's how we get menu sys and 0205A. But you might be saying that it's not working that way. So let's debug that program. Might be in debug already. Let's see. Yeah, it's already in debug. Alright, let's add our breakpoint back. Let's type in SRQ. And let's see. Menu sys for the project code. Project levels 0205A. Star all. Star all. That's how it got it. That's what we need to pass into it. No different than what happened here. Alright, but menu sys, the value makes sense. 0205A makes sense. But star all, that's not defined in this static variable. Enter it now, right? So let's take a look at that variable. Service request from user code. So there's a condition. There's a feature within menu system where you can define variables, and you can define the conditions of those variables. And based off of the conditions, menu system has a responsibility. Or really, this is not part of menu system, but the application variable system has a responsibility to handle how that variable should be used. So let's focus on service request, and let's take a look at that condition. We have an if equal, and if we display it, we'll see that if this variable from positions 1 through 10 is equal to blank, then if the condition is true, it will invoke another static link. And its value is CMS service request equals default. So if we take a look at that, there it is. That's where the second all is coming from. Makes sense, right? So, but let's assume that we want to not use that. Like where I use this is if I'm passing a parm and I know that a variable has to be within a certain range or cannot be blank. I sometimes have programs that will prompt and say you got to fill it in, or you have to take some action because the action that you're taking requires more information. And that's how I use conditions. And I use it in this sense as in a real simple example. I use it here. Right, but let's try something out. Let's change the static variable and let's make it do something different. And we're gonna say 1, and it is user code, CMS sys, user code, sequence, and we're gonna use DAW because there's a lot of times I just use my initials. All right, so we've defined that. Let's get out. Let's go in. Got it. User DAW. No entries. It changed the behavior by just changing the static link. All right, let's change it to something else. Let's see if I can remember a valid user in CMS. I think that's one. No, it's not one. Let's see. If I want to display this one, let's make it this guy. All right. Here we go. So you can do that as often as you want. You can make as many conditions to test for. You can make as many static variables. Let's get rid of that. To make, and all in all, that is to give you the ability to make one program, one call statement, one execution, but that behavior of that execution gets controlled by other features of menu system. So by the time it gets to this point, everything has already been prepped and ready to go. Okay, I hope I've explained this portion of execution links within menu system, and we'll try to do a deeper dive into the variables and some other features of execution links later on. Thank you.